Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Fallout New Vegas. So, where are we? Well, we're in a funny place, I guess. So, I looked up the Ranger Morales corpse, and apparently you have to take it and drag it northwest to probably about that intersection to drag the body. So we will go back to this location later. Let me put a marker there just to remind myself, but I want to move forward. We're going to check out Vault 22. Inherently, I need to finish the quests specifically around Victoria, or that's her name, Veronica. I guess I've been calling her Victoria, whatever. Felicia Day's character. You should have just called her Felicia. The thought process, I think, there is I want to finish her quests, and then I want to gain enough confidence that I can dismiss her as a character. Because, as a companion, if I keep her forever, which is probably what would happen, frankly, if left to my own devices, and it's kind of what I did in Fallout 3, there are companion quests. And there probably were companion quests in Skyrim also. So, you're not really as free as you would like to be to, what's that? Let's see, 5% chance to hit that from this distance.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's heading this way. These are strong enemies, so we should be aware of that. I think I hear some wolves also in this area. So getting to Vault 22 doesn't seem to be without its risks. For sure. I'm not really sure where Vault 22 is, whether it's at the top of this mountain or at the base. Let's see what the map says. We're not that far away, but it may be that it is further out in that area. So you have a section here just overflowing with greenery, and this is basically the only place yeah. Now the music is still doing that whole Fallout alarm. Here we have a giant mantis. And seems like a few of them. Only getting 20 XP for that. So yeah, it feels like we just need to finish the we need to finish the companion quest with this companion, and then potentially just go back and grab another companion and see if we can raise our relationship with those other companions. there is also a chance here that it isn't so much a relationship between Veronica or Eddie that increased, that unlocked those companion quests. It might just be a level up thing where they needed a way to better scale or explain why your companions' attacks are scaling every time you level up also. Not that there really needs to be an explanation for that. So, I guess the thought here is if the plants weren't deadly, which so far they're not just straight up killing you, this would be great to turn the Mojave Desert into a location like this. Although, I assume we're just entering here. I thought that was a person for a second there. Let's make sure, since we're on this quest, optional find Kelly, a researcher who's gone missing in Vault 22. Seems like she's also in Vault 22. Not outside. Sunflowers are one of the few plants that are really good about soaking up radiation from the soil. So if you were going to realistically go with this concept, you would want to find a way to grow sunflowers everywhere. But you, in the silly Fallout universe, I would imagine you probably want some kind of mutated plants that would just grow like crazy, some kind of Genesis device. So Kelly's notes were on that computer, so we know she made it that far. Programmer's Digest. Still no real reason to pick up pre-war books. There's just like a massive amount of them, and it seems like nobody cares. I definitely feel like they should be more of a rarity. Unless pre-war books are random special stats increases, which I don't think they really are. And I don't think there's going to be anything hidden. I suspect what we're going to find, since all the vaults tend to be experiments on the humans inside the vaults, is that there will be some kind of fungus bearing humans. That would be my guess. Or the plants are psychic and drive you crazy. Right. So we can repair and get 100 XP for repairing the elevator. But we'll go down the stairs and have that experience because we want the XP anyways. It's kind of funny to just have an elevator after having stairs downward. This may just be an experiment on more verticality. I suspect we may not run into any standard bear traps, booby traps type things. A lot loading, so this might be a fairly large area, or it might just be that there's a lot of loading because of the elevator status. What would be crazy is if there were spores that were slowly poisoning you in this whole process, and they just weren't telling you that. It definitely feels like there's a human hand in a lot of these plants. at least to start with. We may just find some silly plants that start walking towards you. So I kind of assume what's supposed to happen here is that you're supposed to develop some... Yeah, why is it attacking? Playing the attacking sound. I suppose this is probably supposed to lull you into a false sense of security. Noticeably, by having just plants everywhere, we're not finding the loot boxes to find vendor trash. As far as we know, we may just be hallucinating everything we're seeing, too. Now, this is going to get really dull really fast, I have to say. So, unless this was supposed to be a quest around investigating what's going on in a mystery, I feel like this is going to be really dull. It may be very dull, even if that is the meaning of all of this. Here you have a strange purple lights, which we haven't seen before. I did see a mantis fly in that direction. So it says you can check inventory, and then it says retrieving inventory information, and then nothing more. And it doesn't feel like that was downloaded to my Pip-Boy. And it's not like I can right click and drag shelves and barricades out. This area, this type of design where you go down and then you go back up, was fairly prominent in the larger amount of vaults that existed in Fallout 3, and definitely felt like a weird decision to design something like that. This is not a cover shooter, so being at a lower location doesn't really make a lot of sense. So we may have to come up from a lower level or come down from a higher level to reach this area, or maybe you just can never reach this area and this is just a false point on the map. From the looks of it, pretty sure we just went full circle there. And yeah. Down the stairs we go to the next area. If all of the vaults were designed this way, then this would be, the vaults would be very poorly designed. Okay. We definitely needed that to happen. So here's a spore carrier. It does look like it is a human that has been infected by spores. One of the things I heavily suspect is anytime you get like a dialogue prompt check, you probably get more experience doing that than killing enemies directly. So whether it is a speech check that leads to a pass peaceful ending or some other kind of check, you almost always want to do that first. Or I think you always want to do that first, really. We're finding a lot of... Where? You know what, you guys just go home, deal with it. The problem with all this dialogue, on top of having to actually read it, is you just kind of don't know what notes are going to be from hundreds of years in the past versus what notes are going to you need clearance or a key to open that door to get into the cave, and I guess that's where we're going. So is it a possibility that this vault just ran into a cave? Hey, nope. Well, it's aggressive now, but it was non-aggressive before. Undoubtedly, these spore carriers are probably the other people that were sent to investigate Vault 22. So, yeah. Well, my companions definitely seem to be more aggressive against them. But it seems like you can walk right into this and you'll just run into one. So it seems like they probably found something in the cave, some kind of spores, and then started to experiment on it. And then it turned all the citizens of Vault 22 into these spore carriers, who seem to be kind of low-level stealth characters, which is a little bit weird, I would say. Vault 22 common areas. Let's check what that is. Vault 22 pest control. Oxygen recycling. So this may very well be a case where can't shoot through the glass. This may be a case where the experiment around the vault may not even be particularly connected to what is going on in the vault right now. Yeah, it says right here that this is pest control, but I don't see any doors or anything like that, so I think this may just be an area instead of an actual location. In the common areas, for this section, so I think we're just continuing down. It may be a case that my stealth My sneak is not high, but my luck is high, so it is possible that that is in part helping things. Alright, so if this is a door to the common areas, the name of this floor is pest control. And we came in from that door? I don't think that's really the case. But maybe there's another thing. I don't know. We can't find it regardless, so. Here we can see we're approaching the overseer's office. It sounds to me like there's something around here. They don't really have a lot on them, which makes sense. There is a quest for sneaking around the gun runner's arsenal section, or the gun runner section, not the gun runner's arsenal, which is DLC, I think. And ideally I'd like to just bring up my sneak to do that normally, but more realistically I could probably just use stealth boys and be invisible because of that. You'd think the overseer's office would be locked more often. I guess they have somewhat of an open door policy. You would also think that overseer's offices would be much closer to the last locations you should visit in every vault, and then there should just be a shortcut to the exit. Let's see. Which ones of those actually worked? That worked, but the cave access didn't work. Okay. In Skyrim, you would get to an endpoint in a dungeon, and there would always just be like a secret wall you would pull a chain on, and it would lower the wall and exit quicker. I feel like overseer's offices should be like that too, but they barely even have a special element to them. Just a different furniture. Cave fungus, we'll take some of that. Take bobby pins, rebound and stim pack. Really don't have a need to take empty bottles or beers. Anything. These guys are seeing enemies, but I'm not seeing them. And remember, my perception is pretty high. So, find that a little confusing. It would also certainly be nice if you could get into an overseer's office and say activate a security system that would like weaken enemies or help you fight enemies, that would certainly make this game more realistic if you wanted to play as a stealth assassin type character. But yeah, the game's, it's just really not balanced for a lot of play styles that it pretends like you could play the game as. It's just not realistic that you would ever be able to be a stealth assassin who would be able to talk their way out of every fight and set off security systems to kill the few number of enemies you need to kill. The system itself is just not really balanced enough that killing only a couple of people in the entire run would be doable. Your XP would just be so incredibly low. Alright, so when these things have stealth on, you can't target them in bats, is what it seems like. If we're gonna shoot these guys, we might as well. Go for headshots. This wouldn't be the first vault where they potentially just gassed the people to experiment on them. This might be one of the things that's making noise. Standing next to this doesn't shock you or anything. So it seems to me somebody must have just like barricaded themselves in here. It feels like the companions are programmed. They are programmed to say still nothing if they can't perceive or see these stealth creatures. The problem here though is if this was supposed to be scary, then these would have to be better scaled enemies, and they just aren't. I know I have a pretty good gun, and so perhaps I am slightly overpowered now, which is exactly where I'd want to be in the fact that I'm playing on very easy. Which,
Still nothing.
If I was going to bother to try and raise up the difficulty, I think I could probably raise up the difficulty to normal
Still nothing.
and not really feel any major effects or difference there. It is kind of weird that the drugs make their way into some of these vaults when it feels like the vaults themselves may have been just more isolated in there. You would think that the drugs did not exist pre-war, but that's also possibly not the case. It may be that drugs totally existed pre-war. And yeah, if you were gonna think about where a timeline split may have happened, these really just look like creatures from the Black Lagoon. From like the real world timeline versus the old world, the Fallout timeline. What could have happened is there may have never been a war on drugs, which would have possibly meant that there was never a Ronald Reagan presidency. Which that could be a significant split. But it doesn't really have to be that that's the case, because it could also be just that any war on drugs may have come and gone because the bombs didn't fall until like hundreds of years after current timelines. Honestly, if we had reached a point in the timeline when the bombs should have fallen in the real world, Bethesda would have probably made a big deal about it. We'll get a bunch of jumpsuits. And this is kind of a sad statement that there was a baby in here. Cave door key card. Just sitting there, easy to overlook it. It is questionable. Maybe I'm just going out of my way to kill the spore spreaders. But yeah, it's kind of what you need to do, though. They do get hostile on their own. They probably would infect other people if I wasn't the main player, main character of the story. Did I get turned around? We'll make sure we keep our weapons repaired and suits repaired so we don't run into wasting a bunch of time being overburdened. I still am taking like 3. So this is a spore plant, so we can search spore plants. I still am using like 3 bullets to kill things. So wouldn't say I'm 100% overpowered. It's not a one-shot kill. Which, yeah, I would like to be that overpowered in games like this, since you already know that, since you already know you're going to spend a lot of time in these games. When you come from that perspective, anything that would speed it up is something I would appreciate, including tripling the damage by a mod, or just having an instant killer gun mod. Or perhaps for game balance reasons, makes some sense to balance your enemies out so that they... Yeah, I'm not sure which way we're going now. Are we going back to pest control, or are we going to food production? Seeing some visual glitches, which I assume those are just visual glitches. Upper level.
Not seeing anything.
I think we came in here.
Still nothing.
This would be food production. This would be the elevator. And this would be stairs being blocked off. Pest control. So I probably could just go to the 5th level pest control anyways. Maybe I have to go because food production, I think, is where we came. There's either a way around that. Let's just jump down here. Yeah. All these doors. I've already been in here and already investigated all of this. The door's just shut behind me. Which, ideally, I'd like the game to not do that. Oh man, we didn't have this flashlight on. Apologies for that. Okay. So what I'm guessing is the move. And take note here that we don't have any breadcrumbs pointing us in any direction. That is something a modern game would definitely have done more of. Yeah, if I could just drop a line that would point to an arrow. I guess the story here is that you would have gotten the key card if you didn't have the repair. You would have taken the key card and we're going to then run it, I think, to the cave entrance that might actually be on the second level, not just... Yep. So we got the clearance, and we can now unlock this. Still is worth it to go in the bats. Notice how the game also takes forever to calculate the... We just frenzied it. Which is not what you want to do. There's the guns also jam when you reload. Which, yeah, that can get annoying. It's realistic. But I did have this thought. When you really start to think about some of the items, and I don't know if I can really explain this well, there are undoubtedly systems here that the game itself knows you just can't engage with, and that they are unbalanced systems. The currency system is probably the most obvious one of that, in that if you could just pick up everything, every item you saw, every bit of vendor trash, and then carry it somewhere, players would just do that, and then they would have every bit of, let's see, this is door oxygen recycling. Let's see where the other direction takes us. And so to curtail the idea of just picking over every bit of vendor trash, they give a weight to things and limit the amount of caps vendors have, which is really two solutions to one problem, which you probably don't need. Pest control. So I wonder if there was supposed to just be 4 different ways you could get into this cave. And each way you exit the cave might have something valuable in it. Giant mantis nymph. It almost feels like they intentionally wanted to have a character class of nymphs for all kinds of enemies. Which, that's not a terrible thought. Now we have a mantis egg, which we may need for some subquest. It doesn't really feel like the mantises, though, are directly connected to the other characters. I guess we should go up. Let's go up before we go down and just see where this leads, since I think the bottom floor is where we're probably going. See if we can maybe get the local map. Yep. This takes us into that one room we saw. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we find somebody. What would be really interesting is if we found somebody hiding in one of these lockers. But I don't think that's really going to happen. You don't have a way of moving things to, yeah, unblock an entrance or anything like that. So what's the purpose of this other than to just have a connected world? There's not even a single gun or item in this location. So you just made the player walk through a walk through a load screen for no reason at all, just wasting the player's time. Oh, now I remember the system that I specifically wanted to talk about that really shows how broken this game is, particularly New Vegas, since only New Vegas has this bullet system of converting bullets. The fact that you can take like a 9mm bullet and turn it into a 10mm bullet is admitting that you're planning on having a broken system, and your solution to having a broken system that will never give the player enough bullets is to give them too much bullets of other kinds of bullets and then waste their time by making them go into reloading stations in a few locations, which is far too few locations to convert bullets. Now, I'm not making the argument here that there should be closer to an Omni gun, which you see in some other games that would just take any kind of bullet whatsoever, but there clearly should be fewer styles of bullets. Like handgun bullets, rifle bullets, shotgun bullets are pretty typical. This game has a lot of TNT, dynamite, frag grenades, missiles, rockets, all of which you really can never play with. Not because you just won't have enough bullets for them, and maybe if there were bosses in these games, it would make sense to save those missiles and rockets for bosses, but even then, the system doesn't work. Grenades really should be a button that you just hit like the right bump with, which instead is VATS. And see, like left bump changes your view, which changing your view could just be done in the menu. What I could see someone doing in Fallout, because Fallout does have that level of silliness on it, like, is, sorry, lost my, went quiet there for a second. But what I could see them doing is the idea of having a perk where you could put smaller bullets inside larger guns. So 9mm, you get a perk where you can just magically fit a 9mm into a 10mm. And that would logically make some sense. And then you might even have a much higher level where you can put larger bullets into guns. I think this area is just going to be blocked off.
I've had worse.
Yeah. We have a prototype gun by the looks of it. So there was at least something special for coming this way. Let's see what that gun looks like. Notice it required me to watch the entire reloading section before it brought up the Pip-Boy. Laser gun. Let's see. Laser gun with 78 damage. Let's see if maybe she would be interested in that.
Is it a dress?
We can lose some inventory space while we're here anyways. I also believe we may have finally found the book here. Nikola Tesla and you increases energy weapons by 4. didn't think that was the book I found, though. Well, I found a different book. Yeah, Tales of Junktown, Jorky Vendor. Barter increased by 4. So, yeah. That will increase our stats a little bit. There's a decent chance we won't find all the books in the world, and I'll just have enough points to get everything up to 100 regardless. But yeah, we are also at level 18, so there's a possibility that that doesn't happen. I mean, just it's going to heavily come down to how many levels there actually are. This is still mostly nothing. These Bethesda games are just a massive example of mismanagement of resources, in my opinion. Like, I don't know how to phrase it in any other way. There's just far too many people in charge of making 3D models and level designs, and not enough people in charge of making encounters. Ash pile and spore plants. So I guess this is supposed to be somewhat of a barricaded off maze. Alright, welcome to level 19 now. So we were gonna just dump everything in the sneak. Are we comfortable with that? I think we are. Yeah. And then no park this time. The fact that I'm just kind of getting 50 XP for every kill, that might be the one thing that would benefit you better by playing on very easy, is I might be getting slightly more XP. I think it would really just be slightly more though. We have the terminal where we were supposed to download the research data.
See? Just because it doesn't shoot lasers doesn't mean it's not worth looking into. We can do amazing things with this data.
So you have a side quest option here to return the data to the Elder at Hidden Valley. I think I would prefer to do that than just turn it in to NCR. Maybe we can turn the data into both. So it looks to me like there's a cave system that wraps around here. And we're still looking for, I think her name was Nellie. And frankly, we're just looking for a fight. Anyways, so Anywhere where we can fight something and shoot something is a good direction to go to get more XP, to level up more. I may
Trouble.
hit a point where so there was an actual spore plant. They look like piranha plants. Can't even see it in the fog in the draw distance. There. So this is probably the cave. Now, I don't think I'm even going to get close enough to the spore plants to find out what they do. I guess they spit at you. Proven wrong immediately as I say it. The bullets, too many bullets problem of this game get exacerbated by the fact that there's different qualities of bullets. So that does make me kind of assume that there could have been, in the minds of Obsidian and Bethesda when developing this game, 3 times as many guns, and they tried to reduce that possibility by having 3 different types of bullets for each class of guns. I don't think I'm hitting it at all. Honestly, I'm just pretending to play the game right now. It is Eddie that's shooting everybody over my shoulder and killing everybody. I'm faking the whole experience. It's kind of like that movie Big Trouble in Little China, where the main white character thinks he's the hero, but in reality the hero is the sidekick that actually does all the work. The Asian sidekick friend. At least that's a popular interpretation. And we've found a ghoul. Is this Kelly? I guess it is.
Took your sweet time. I suppose the NCR sent you? She's such a dear. Not like that pompous little pedant she works for. But that's neither here nor there. These plants have gotten completely out of control. I've got a plan to deal with them, but I'll need your help.
Okay.
Good. Meet me on the 2nd level, and I'll explain what needs to be done.
So she was just sitting there. Meet Kelly at the base of operations on the 2nd level. One question here is, how do we actually get out? This is another great example of where it would be helpful if they had you follow them outward so you can see the exit instead of just running off. So I assume this is just going to curve around and end up back at this spot. And I definitely feel like now is the time to take the elevator. And this really highlights an issue.
What's this? Did you do these repairs? Not bad. Not bad at all. Saves me time, I guess. See you upstairs.
Yep. So where am I supposed to meet her? At the second level in the lab? They didn't go into full detail as far as where I'm supposed to go. She seems to be over that way. Here she is in this room with the up and down stairs.
Hello. Good, you're here. Ready to begin?
Sure.
Time is of the essence, so I'll be brief. This place is filled with spores that are toxic to humans, and we need to get rid of them. I've pumped the vault full of a highly flammable gas that, once ignited, should destroy the vast majority of spores. There's one problem, though. The gas becomes semi-inert on exposure to oxygen, meaning the gas will have to be ignited close to where it's being introduced. I need you to find the vents where the gas is being pumped and ignite it. Oh, and survive the resulting blast. Good. Return to me when it's done.
So there's a whole side game here. Do we kind of know where we're going? It's not just that. I don't think. Seems to me like they want me to take an elevator. But I'm not sure where they want me to take the elevator. Seems like it's probably better to take the stairs. That way we know whether we're going up or down. Now this would really suck if this somehow killed our companion. Let's go down to the common areas and see if this is the right direction. Nope. Okay, everything's telling me common areas is where to go, I guess. And then maybe we have to go back up to pest control because of the split. It's not food production. All these different triangles and green arrows pointing me in different directions. It feels like they're trying their best to make sure you go in circles and see everything at least once. So what was the way to curve around here? I guess the question is, what floor are we even on? That would be helpful information. I think the move is probably to go down this way. Yeah, there we go. That would make some sense. It would just have us go back where we were. A little bit more this direction. Seems like we have found a gas place. Okay, so how do we survive that? Doesn't seem like just a standard bullet will ignite it. Well, a standard bullet will ignite it. Just wait for our companions to wake up from their unconsciousness, back to full health. Back to full health. I don't think companions can be killed, at least on very easy. And as for me, yes, I can be killed, but also that just gives me an opportunity to drink a bunch of drinks and refill my health. Is this the right way? Have we been here? I think we have. Stairs, elevator. Now back to the second. It feels like you don't really regenerate as much as you would like if you're wandering around. What was the end of that quest, though? Return to Kelly and let her know the spores have been purged. Return to Dr. Mullen's camp with the research. Here's Kelly. Almost found her.
Hello. Ah, good. You survived. I was beginning to think you hadn't. You'll be pleased to know that the spores should no longer be a problem. Now all that's left is to ensure that none of this ever happens again. The research that led to these abominations must be erased. I've managed to create a connection to the Vault's backup system from here. I just have to remotely delete all the files, and we're done here. No, it shouldn't take all that long. Just a few more moments, and that's strange. The system says that the files were accessed recently and copied to an external source. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
Let's see. Let's just be honest. What's the point of lying?
Yes, that sounds like something he'd do. Well, there's nothing for it then. Those files need to be erased. Hold out your arm and I'll have it done in a flash.
Let's see. Science 70.
How do you figure that?
Science.
I suppose the data here could serve as a warning to other scientists. Tell them what paths of research not to follow. Alright. You convinced me. Take the files back to that buffoon. You make a good point. But I still honestly hope you know what you're doing. I've unlocked the door, so you're free to run along now. Although it pains me to say it, I wouldn't have made it out of here without your help. If you're heading back toward McCarran, tell Dr. Williams that she has my thanks as well.
So we gain some karma. We don't delete the files, which we needed. Here's some frag grenades. We'll take. I don't know if that bag was there the whole time or if that just appeared recently. And then now it's a matter of finding the elevator and leaving. Okay. So much for Vault 22. That's a fine vault, not an amazingly good vault. There's no big experiment or twist on it, it seems like, and it definitely doesn't feel like there was. 8 hours long experience. Okay. So this quest, I can make you care. Quest is still something we want to deal with. I don't know what this heartache by the number is all about. And then Still in the Dark is the one we're still trying to do. So I can make you care. Says bring the data back to the Elder at the Hidden Valley. Access Father Elijah's note at the Calm Terminal with Veronica. Return to Veronica. The Brotherhood is still with evidence of the Brotherhood's misguided priorities. So first thing we want to do with that is fast travel here. The fiends are back. That's not working particularly well. You can pretty well tell that the fiends are just not really a challenge. What is more of a challenge is just hitting an enemy. Even if you have the gun in the sights, you're potentially, or the enemy in the crosshairs, you're potentially still just at that 24% chance hit rate. So no wonder it's taking 3 or 4 bullets, because 3 of those bullets are straight up not hitting the target. So this is where McCarran's body originally would have been, and there's supposed to be some bear traps, and I wasn't even looking down here, so that'll give me an opportunity to disarm some traps, and probably are a few more traps around. Now here's a shotgun trap. In modern game, you definitely would have more of a case. Lever action shotgun. You would have more of a case where walking over corpses would automatically pick up the bullets from them, or walking next to flowers would automatically pick bullets. So yeah, I thought it would have been a case where you would have just carried the body anywhere away from that trap, and that would have been good. But no, it is very much in northwesterly direction, looking at the map, that it says you have to carry it. And that we will, you're not just taking it all the way to Fort McCarran, which would take way too long, but we will be stopped by some NCR Rangers at some point here who will take the body. There they are. And I just didn't see them. I actually walked fairly close to this direction and just did not see them. There's nothing about this map that, or this mission, that really points you in the right direction. Again, breadcrumbing. Things that should have.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up. Where do you think you're going?
Let's see.
Christina hired you, huh? Well, if you're gonna go up there, there's a couple things you should know.
So you're supposed to
Esteban's
talk to
body's
these
in the
guys.
middle of those buildings up the hill there.
And so
Look
now we're getting
carefully, you
dialogue
can see
that's
the
totally
fiends patrolling
pointless.
the rooftops. But they laid traps too. There's mines all over. So for God's sakes, watch your feet. Get him back
I
here.
probably just walked
Get 'em
over
home.
the mines.
Least we can do. Wish we could help more.
Okay.
Oh my God, are you okay? You've got to get to a medic. Doc Kemp can patch you up back at base. How could you sacrifice your body like that? You never even met him. If the NCR doesn't have a medal for this, they should make one up. That must be some kind of code of honor you hold yourself to. You're like a woman possessed. We'll make sure Ranger Morales' body gets sent back home. You don't have to, you know, pick him up on your shoulder and haul him to California. Even though I believe you would if you had to. You should go tell Private Morales the news. I know she'll be relieved.
And then we just have a randomized Legion assassin group. And see, I don't think these guys are even here for the NCR Rangers. I think it's just a case that the NCR happened to be there as this random occurrence happened. Which this is a great example of a random occurrence and just having NPCs interact with each other. Maybe as I do more for the NCR, I will end up having more locations in the middle of the road where you have NCR troopers.
Hello.
Did we get everybody? I'm now over encumbered. There we go. Yeah. I don't really like that idea, so I have to admit. I just don't think it adds the right kind of content, this kind of wild, uncontrollable, unpredictable content when you have random when you have just random encounters with random people. I think what we'll probably want to do here is see if we can maybe get this helmet from her.
Ooh, got something good for me?
See if we can give
Is it
her
a dress?
some weapons. We'll give her the... take the bad quality gun. Give the low quality guns. Combat knife was one. I think we were still going to try and see if we could work on. And then we were going to look. She has the Centurion helmet. So we were going to take that and see if we could do anything with that. This is 5 damage resistance. All this other NCR stuff. And none of those helmets are as good.
You're making me carry the heavy stuff, aren't you?
So how many different outfits does that end up having them drop? NCR, Trooper Armor, Legion stuff. Yeah. If I just leave it here, it'll probably despawn. But neither of my companions can wear that equipment and choose an affinity. Which makes no sense. The whole system's really broken. Oh man, I really am injured. I thought they were just saying that by default. Stim pack to fix the crippled limbs. And then let's get rid of a bunch of Nuka-Colas. In fact, let's just take them all. Okay. So now we remove that marker. We know Gibson Scrapyard and his one has something to check out. So let's go to Gibson Scrapyard. And as we are fast traveling here, my health is just automatically going to be refilled. Let's see how much.
Hello. So you're back.
Let's see how much she has to sell. Gun runners, weapons still. Okay. We will then sell all of that. There's room to sell more, though.
Give me a take.
So let's see. Does Eddie have anything in his inventory at all? No.
You're making me carry the heavy stuff, aren't you?
over encumbered again. Back. It would sure be nice if you just had a repair all button. And I think some of the shops may have something like that.
Ooh, got something good for me? Is it a dress?
Give her the super sledge back. I don't think any of the other weapons.
So, you're back. Now.
Right. So, we have a full 2,000 we can sell there on that. And then it'll just come down to whether it makes sense to sell things that we don't have at full quality. Because at a certain level, yes, I should take all of these guns and take them back to my main collection and upgrade their values. But more realistically, yeah, it's just not worth it. Probably should have done something more around having barter set up. We'll sell one of those. We'll sell all of those. These magazines, weirdly, may end up being the most valuable item. Cave fungus rads, -10. If we could find a bunch of cave fungus, that might be helpful. Probably sell half of those. Yeah, I'm mostly trying to sell things for caps right now, but also getting rid of anything that would take up weight. See what we've got under the miscellaneous. Lead doesn't have a value, so there's no way to really sell those. So yeah, there's like 3,000 still here that I don't know how I could regain money here unless I'm just gonna start to sell different bullets. Bullets don't really have that high of a value. Anyways. Could sell a whole bunch of these overcharge bullets. I have quite a lot of those. This highlights a problem with the system though, where on a controller there's, as far as I know, not a good system. Left bump and right bump will jump you back by like 10, but that's still not much. Whoops, went over. So it does seem to me like I might be sitting on a lot more bullets than I realized. Yeah. I mean, what am I really trying to say here? It seems to me I may have been sitting on a lot more caps than I realized, because I had been converting the energy cell bullets. So I need to sell roughly about 100. Okay. So then I would need to sell roughly about 50. Let's just keep going in this direction. Okay, so 26 if they sell for 2, then I would need to sell 13 to get the exact right amount. There we go.
Thanks. Take care now.
Okay. So that helped a lot more than I thought it would. Let's go now and investigate this. I guess this is a comms terminal station that is hidden somewhere between Helios 1 there and just the rock wall here. Now we got to the top of that area, which I noticed when I was watching some of the footage that the satellite towers at the top of that, when we were closer to that area, would pop in and pop out. So that's somewhat surprising that they wouldn't just pre-render all the satellite dishes. I wouldn't be surprised if we go to this safe house, we get a message to go to a different safe house, and this sends us in a quest that's all over the place. Is there anything otherwise interesting in Gibson's shack? Medics, Mentats. Probably do have a good argument to take some things. Alright, well, I'm not ready to end this episode, so I'm gonna have to pause this and take a break instead. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Yep. So yeah, there's just Gibson's shack here. There's nothing really in here. We would have sold everything, so even if we could craft things, we never really have right items. Inherently, you kind of need a rethinking of the requirements for all this. What is this? Weapons binding ritual. Heal per perspective and limb damage, restore limb condition. Sounds like you're doing some kind of magical thing. But yeah. a lot of these feel like they require one extra thing, whether it's a white horse nettle or turpentine. So if one ingredient was missing just to start with, then you could craft some of these items. Looking at these items though, most of these don't seem to say any value at all. Which I think that's probably wrong. I suspect there probably is a higher value than 0.0 for some of these items. We kind of know that healing powder, for instance, sells for like 1 cap. But I haven't seen any of these items that we have gotten our hands on actually sell for a large amount of items. Here you have several clone things made from Salient Green, which is a joke reference to Soylent Green, an old sci-fi movie, which even when this game came out would have been such an old movie that most people wouldn't have gotten the references unless you just know it from like a meme of Soylent Green is people, which was the big spoiler for that movie. Of course, spoiling a movie from like the 70s is not a big deal in my book. Let's see what this is. It seems like the previous elder was probably either a ghoul or a robot or something. We haven't actually seen any sense in the game at all, or any mention of sense, but that's the only thing that makes sense as far as why people would be alive after 200 years, unless this is just a universe where you can live for 200 years if you manage to not get killed. But I'm thinking synth, and then the responses here. Alright, so we've downloaded the research notes. Download complete.
Let's see what we've got here. Okay, yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. The pulse gun. Although maybe the rangefinder could work too. And it looks like the NCR was onto some miracle farming technology.
So, we did the farming technology already. Let's investigate the pulse gun and the rangefinder.
Electromagnetic weapon from before the Great War. Experimental. It never saw mass production. But they were building it as a countermeasure to power armor, which they feared the Chinese were developing. Supposedly a prototype was being housed at Nellis. Imagine what it could do to the Brotherhood. We'd be on equal footing with any idiot with a gun.
Tell me about the rangefinder.
It's a targeting device for some kind of doomsday weapon based at Helios 1. It was lost sometime after the war. We held Helios 1 for a time. Lost a lot of people defending it. Too many. All for this weapon they never got working. If it turns out to be a dud, it'd show how flawed our goals have been. Father Elijah said he thinks a scavenger might have sold it on the strip.
So the information is not gonna take me back to Helios 1.
More or less. Supposedly it's a vegetation enhancer. NCR has a science branch headquartered at McCarran Airport. Guess they found something. Guess somebody wasn't very good at keeping secrets either. We'd never pursue it because it's not a weapon, but self-sufficiency is fundamental to us. If it works, they'd see the value of an alternate course.
Okay. Let's see, the rangefinder might be a problem. I reactivated Helios 1 and it's not powering a weapon.
Ah, hell. Well, how could you know, right? Okay, 2 other options still on the table.
Let's pursue the pulse gun since, I mean, we already did the vegetation technology.
Yeah, maybe they'll think twice about engaging the NCR if they know one of those could be floating around. The notes say to look around Nellis Air Force Base. He suggests going through filing cabinets and computers in the commanding officer's quarters. I like the way you think.
Okay, so we are continuing down the path of doing our quests. So that's gonna send me to Nellis Air Force Base, past Nellis Air Force Base. But first, let's go to the medical clinic. We do have enough points here, enough caps to probably
You're
get
back.
the rest
Do you
of
need
the
medical
basic implants.
All right.
Now the subdermal implants and all of them I think are more
The
expensive.
empathy synthesizer will allow you to more easily pick up on subtle emotions and body language. The price is $4,000. Have a seat in the...
So we've now gotten our special stats as high as we can on that.
You're back.
Let's see how much
All right.
it costs for a subdermal implant.
That would be the Nemian subdermal armor. It's a bit pricey, 8,000 caps, but the implant causes your skin cells to be bolstered with iron. It won't make you bulletproof, but it will make you a little harder to injure.
So we need 8,000 for that. We have 2,000. Probably not going to get 8,000 by selling stuff. So another 16,000, and then we'd have a regenerating ability and a health ability, which honestly that would kind of drastically change the way the game played.
I've had worse.
Not really sure why the Brahmin was killing the mole rats. And frankly, I don't want either one of their meats. Okay. Is this a radiation pit we're about to walk into? It looks like it would be. It's kind of weird to have water just spraying up like that. So we've just got some mad cows wandering around. Brahmin typically not aggressive. And I'm just gonna investigate this area since this does seem to be pretty much the end of the line as far as the map. That's almost like a reference to the fictional cow level in Diablo 1 or the real cow level in Diablo 2 to make up for the meme of the rumor of a cow level in Diablo 1. That very likely is the reference there. So in this northern part you just hit rocks. And yeah, I heavily question if this doesn't take you to maybe some DLC that takes place in like this area. It might also be a case that the map itself was smaller originally and the DLC has expanded the edges of the maps on a couple of sides to make up for the locations. We have 2 things to do at Nellis Air Force Base, at least. We're looking for the Brotherhood of Steel characters. I suspect we might run into some somewhat dangerous characters when we get to Nellis Air Force Base. Let's see. that doesn't look to me like there's anything over here. Oh, there's a real danger though of just going back and forth. Field Shack. We have no idea who Field is. Definitely seems like there's definitely just a lot of people with shacks. Able Kid BB gun. Here's a bunch of toys. So this is probably a kid's house. Still don't really know what to do with the blue Sunset Sarsaparilla packs, caps, whatever they're called. Yep. George, Chematic. We could follow the railroad track also. See if these guys want to
Hey there.
talk.
Howdy.
Well, they're not named characters. I should have recognized that and not wasted my time walking over there. Okay. Probably should end the episode here. Let's... Danger... What does that say? Boomers? Panthers? Can't read it. Let's keep an eye out for mines, I guess. Just leave. Unless it was just a lot of Nightkin or super mutants or death claws. Well, now we have an issue. We're hoping our companions can run back here and not get hit by rockets. That was a lot. So, I have learned my lesson that there still are things in this world that can't hurt you. This low light vision is really a terrible system. I would rather the game just be lit up in full color like it was noon. So we can't get to Nellis Air Force Base in that direction. Let's see what George has to say.
Whoa there, pal. You better slow down, or you'll get blown up like the rest of the idiots who thought they'd scavenge in boomer territory. Now that I've got your attention, might you be interested in a little information? It'll cost you, but it's well worth the investment.
Sure. Speech check.
Whoa, simmer down. I'll tell you, I'm a gambler and a scavenger. I've made some cash from gambling and some cash from reclaiming goods that are no longer being used. Now, do you want my help or not? Oh, lordy, lordy. You haven't heard of the boomers? What rock have you been living under? They're a bunch of artillery-slinging, grenade-lobbing odd jobs camping out in Nellis. Wander into their territory and you're as good as mincemeat.
So, how do we get past?
There is a way, and I'll tell you. For a little wager.
You'd think you would gamble more often in this game with people, and instead of just doing the default speech checks in regular conversations. It would be funny if every single person in Fallout New Vegas was obsessed with gambling and required you to flip coins or play a card game before answering, but that would really just slow down the game even more.
Well, I know the secret to get past. If you give me the caps, I'll tell you. If you make it back alive, I'll double your money.
Okay, barter. $40.
All right, I suppose I can cut you a deal, but not a cap lower. I gotta make a living here. Okay, here you go. That page has the details, but it's all in the timing as you move from building to building. I'll be here watching, so I'll know if you've made it to the gate or not. Remember, I'll pay double your wager if you make it back.
So, we bartered there with lower money, but he's gonna pay us double if we make it. So, by paying less, we've lowered our return. Okay. Key to avoiding the artillery is to move from building to building from the northwest side of town toward the front gate. Stick to the high cover in the northeast corner of the two buildings, then make a B line for the gate. The boomers won't shoot at their own people, so stick to the fence until you make it to the gate. Also, I know there's an old train tunnel that enters the area from the south, but no one has ever come back out of there to say if it's safe. Okay, so we could go somewhere like here or here and you try a train tunnel, or we can dodge and weave. And it looks like the best bet is to dodge and weave. And so that's what we'll do next time. All of our stats are at fairly high situations, although I don't know why my endurance is lower right now. Let's see. Minor radiation poison. Well, let's take some rat away and fix that. Perception is higher. If we get intensive training to increase strength, it increases your effectiveness with many heavy weapons and allows you to carry a little bit more. If we did charisma more, we would have barter and speech skills going up. If we do agility, sneak skills and gun skills go up. So agility is really what we want to put everything into to get to sneak up. And then luck also. Yeah. The hope is that we can continue to get intensive training to the point where we have everything at 100 by the time we're at level 50, which I assume we're going to get to level 50. I might be surprised here though. We may really only get to like a level 30 at most. Like, the speech skills are fairly high. We aren't getting a ton of extra perks, and one of those perks in particular has proven to be, I think, fairly useless. This Cherchez La Femme. Yeah, I don't think that was a good one to have taken, but I do think that is probably the only one that we've had a real problem with. We still have some unique items and snow globes, and we still haven't found the house to put the snow globes in. I'm not sure how many snow globes there actually are. We have these 21 Sunset Sarsaparilla Star bottle caps. I don't know how many are in the entire game. I would suspect you get like 100 at most. We stopped getting Legion ears when killing Legionnaire characters. Are we not getting a lot? We have a ton of bullets. So, yeah. If I started to sell bullets more, that would be helpful. This BB gun is kind of a great example of where they wanted to make a unique weapon for every type of gun, but they can't make a BB gun that's that valuable. So you have a 500 cap BB gun that does 24 damage per second. The only way this would have ever been useful is if you'd gotten it at the very beginning of the game with a lot of BBs. And this is Abilene Kid limited edition BB gun. Abilene being a city in Texas. There might be another Abilene also. You would have suspected that they would have made Las Vegas part of a new Texas empire, or even a new Mexican empire, but that didn't seem like that's happening in this story. We did at least make a decent amount of progress. We have one more vault. We probably have a lot more things to still find and investigate. This Ranger Station Foxtrot still seems like you're gonna have to just follow this road up to this Jacobstown super mutant location to reach it, and that would move us closer to finishing what would be fairly old quest forward, what I suspect is the war quest. And yeah, this is the main story here. The house always wins and ring a ding ding. And this is companion quest. This is side quests. This is side quest. This is side quest that we finished and just need to turn in. But yeah, I am happier at the end of this episode than I have been at previous episodes, just for the fact that we did manage to go through a vault, even though Vault 22 was poorly designed with its verticality. I definitely don't feel like that's the way to do something like that. If you were going to do something like that, I think what you would want is it to be one level that just had multiple pergolas, I guess is what they're called, and maybe just like a giant tree in the middle of the vault going up 5 different levels on the same floor. Maybe you could fall and take fall damage. Maybe they were trying to avoid that, but mostly I think what they wanted to do is still have their very narrow-minded way in which they have fight encounters, which is always that you will see an enemy, they will be roughly on the same level as you, so you won't be shooting from a floor above or shooting from a floor below, and those enemies will mostly run towards you or spit at you or shoot a gun at you in a flat direction. The loading was the main problem, however, with Vault 22. Had it just been a fully connected section that didn't have to load, considering how old this game is, nothing should be loading at all. It should just be instantaneous, but games are just not designed that way. There will always be a load. A lot of games have baked in load times, so even if it was, if you had a computer capable of loading instantaneously and streaming level data, which was what modern games would do, older games would still not do that, and you would still see load screens. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.